In the ancient Indian epic, the Ramayana, there's this part where King Dasharatha claims to have ruled for 60,000 years.
Which is, a staggering number.
Right. And when a modern reader encounters a number like that, our first instinct is just to, well, laugh it off as poetry.
Yeah, we immediately categorize it as a myth.
Or like a translation error, or just ancient writers exaggerating to make their kings sound, more impressive.
Yeah.
But what if it isn't a typo?
Right.
What if that impossible number is actually a highly precise, literal coordinate of astrophysics?
And that is exactly the friction we run into when we try to overlay modern astronomical frameworks onto these ancient texts.
Yeah.
We are so conditioned to view these multi-thousand-year-old epics as purely literary works. So we completely miss the mathematical ledger that's hiding in plain sight.
Well, welcome to the deep dive. Today we are looking at a stack of translated research, most notably the complete astronomical Yugantara thesis.
It's a fascinating paper.
It really is. These sources attempt something incredibly ambitious. They are taking the Valmiki Ramayana and running its descriptions through modern orbital physics.
Specifically, Kepler's laws of planetary motion. Yeah.
Exactly. And the mission for this deep dive is to detail exactly how the recorded ages of legendary figures, specifically Ram and Sita, act as this mathematical key.
A key that unlocks a lot more than just their lifespans.
Right. It unlocks and confirms a highly complex ancient lunar calendar, which completely changes how we read ancient history.
Right.
It's not a fairy tale. It's encoded scientific data.
But to even approach this math, we first have to completely discard our current map of the solar system.
Okay, wait. Discard the whole map?
Yeah, because according to the data extracted from these texts, the physical universe during the Treta Yuga, which is the era when the Ramayana takes place, it looked vastly different from the sky we see today.
Right, because the sources apply Kepler's third law to the environmental descriptions in the epics. And for anyone who needs a quick physics refresher, Kepler's law essentially proves that the time it takes a planet to orbit the sun is mathematically tethered to its distance from the sun.
Exactly. The wider the orbit, the longer the year.
So what did the authors of the thesis find when they worked backward from the time frames recorded by the ancient sages?
Well, based on those specific temporal markers, they calculate that during the Treta Yuga, the Earth was orbiting the sun at a distance of about 1.57 astronomical units, or AU.
Okay, so for context, 1 AU is the distance from the Earth to the sun right now.
Right.
So at 1.57 AU, the Earth was pushed way further out into the solar system. I mean, that puts it roughly where Mars sits in our current sky.
Yeah, and the implications of that distance are staggering when you think about planetary cycles.
I bet.
With the Earth dragged out into that wider orbit, a single journey around the sun took much longer. One solar year during the Treta Yuga lasted for 720 days.
Wow. 720 days. That dramatically alters the whole biological experience of living on Earth.
Completely.
Because, I mean, the traditional Vedic calendar still recorded 6 distinct seasons.
Yeah.
But because the solar year was doubled, each season stretched on for 2 of our modern months.
Yeah, a single winter would feel endless.
Seriously. But tracking a 720-day solar cycle is only half the problem, right?
Yeah.
I mean, an ancient civilization heavily relied on the lunar calendar for agricultural rhythms, tidal tracking, and, religious ceremonies.
Right. And the moon was not operating on our modern schedule either.
Of course not.
The reports calculate that the moon was almost 5 times further away from Earth than it is today. 4.94 times, to be exact.
Oh, wow. So if the moon is pushed out that far, its gravitational orbital velocity drops significantly.
Yes.
It'd be practically crawling across the night sky compared to what we are used to seeing.
Exactly. And the texts actually provide the exact pacing. So today, the moon moves at a daily angular velocity of about 13.17 degrees. It moves quickly enough to cross a single nakshatra, which is a specific segment of the sky, often called a lunar mansion. It crosses one of those in roughly 1 day.
Right, that's today.
But during the Treta Yuga, its daily angular velocity was a mere 1.12 degrees.
Wow. So it would take 11 entire days just for the moon to cross a single nakshatra.
Right.
So we have an Earth taking 720 days to circle the sun, and a moon taking over a week and a half just to move through one segment of the sky.
It's a very different system.
Like a giant cosmic gear system. Earth was shifted into this outer gear, taking way longer to go around the sun, and the moon was in an even slower gear, But if everything is moving at different speeds, how on earth did they keep track of time?
Right. Trying to build a reliable calendar when your sun and moon are operating on such drastically different elongated gears seems mathematically chaotic.
Yeah, it sounds impossible.
But that perceived chaos is what makes the ancient solution so brilliant. The scholars of the time developed a mathematical bridge to sync these massive solar and lunar orbits.
Yeah.
The texts refer to this as the 5-year Yugantara system.
Let's look at the raw numbers they were working with there. If the moon takes 11 days to cross one nakshatra, and the ancient sky was divided into 27.32 nakshatras, that means one complete lunar month in the Trita Yuga lasted roughly 300.52 days.
Exactly. And then you multiply that 300.52-day lunar month by 12, and you get a full lunar year.
Okay.
So the ancient sages calculated a lunar year at roughly 3,606 days.
Got it. And the solar side is much cleaner.
Right.
The Earth is out by Mars, so one solar year is 720 days.
And 5 of those 720-day solar years gives you 3,600 days.
Wait, let me unpack this. 3,600 days for 5 solar years and 3,606 days for 1 lunar year.
Yep.
They're off by just 6 days. Are you saying they managed to synchronize a solar and lunar calendar by clustering them into 5-year blocks?
The texts detail exactly that. Those extra 6 days, they were simply logged as a leap year adjustment at the end of the 5-year Yugantara cycle.
That's incredible.
Yeah, the two vastly different orbital speeds locked together perfectly at that specific interval.
I mean, that forces a complete rereading of the ancient texts. This 1:5 ratio means whenever an ancient text from this era gives us a number in lunar years, it's essentially a compressed file.
That's a great way to put it.
Right. To find out the biological solar time that a human body actually experienced, we have to multiply that lunar number by 5. It's like a currency exchange rate for time.
Exactly. The authors of the thesis actually proposed that ancient sages recorded time in lunar years specifically as a standardized metric.
Oh, really?
Yeah, they likely understood that solar orbits would shift over vast epochs. So they anchored their historical ledgers to the mathematical constant of the Yugantara ratio.
Okay, so let's take that exchange rate and apply it to the actual historical records to see if it holds up. We have specific recorded ages for Ram and Sita in the Valmiki Ramayana, right? Specifically in the Aranya Kanda, Sarga 47.
Yes. And this occurs during a pivotal narrative moment. Ram and Sita are being sent into exile. Sita is speaking directly to Ravana, and she provides her exact age. She states she is 18 and her husband Ram is 25.
Right. But we also have a preceding verse where Sita notes they spent 12 years living in the royal palace in Ayodhya after their marriage, before this exile was decreed.
Correct.
So if they're 18 and 25 at the time of exile, and we subtract those 12 palace years, the text is telling us that at the time of their marriage, Sita was 6 and Ram was 13.
And hearing about a 6-year-old and a 13-year-old getting married triggers an immediate dismissal from modern readers.
Of course it does. It sounds absurd.
Right. It sounds entirely disconnected from biological maturity, which just reinforces the idea that these are fanciful myths.
But when we apply that 1:5 exchange rate, the picture changes entirely. The ages recorded in the text are in lunar years.
Yes, they are.
So when we convert them to understand their biological solar year age, Sita jumps from 6 to 30 solar years old at the time of her marriage.
It's exactly.
And Ram goes from 13 to 65 solar years old.
And the same conversion applies to their exile. At 25 lunar years, Ram was biologically 125 solar years old.
Wow.
And Sita, at 18 lunar years, was 90 solar years old.
The sources back this up with another scene from the Balkanda too. Sage Vishwamitra approaches King Dasharatha, asking him to send Ram to fight a group of powerful demons. And Dasharatha refuses, arguing that Ram is less than 16, which scholars identify as 13 lunar years old.
Right, and the king's reluctance is usually interpreted as a father protecting a young teenager from a brutal war.
But through the lens of the Yugantara ratio, here's where it gets really interesting. Suddenly, Ram isn't a 13-year-old child going off to fight demons. He's a 65-year-old, biologically mature warrior.
Yes.
This math totally rescues the timeline from sounding like a fairy tale and roots it in biological reality.
And the alignment goes even deeper when we look at the cultural expectations of the era.
How so?
The Vedic baseline for a complete human lifespan is heavily documented. Texts like the Rig Veda consistently include prayers for a lifespan of 100 solar years. There's a phrase, Jivima Sharada Shatam, which translates to, may we live 100 autumns.
So a 125 solar-year-old warrior and a 90 solar-year-old princess fit perfectly within the upper limits of a civilization aiming for a century-long biological baseline.
Exactly.
The calendar, math, and the biological records validate each other.
They do. The thesis presents a highly cohesive framework up to this point, but rigorous analysis requires addressing the outliers.
Right.
And the Valmiki Ramayana contains a massive anomaly that threatens to break this entire model. The issue lies with Ram's father, King Dasharatha.
This is the 60,000-year mystery we started with.
Yes, it is.
In the Balkanda Sarga 20, King Dasharatha explicitly claims he has lived for 60,000 years. But if we take our 1-to-5 ratio and multiply that number, we get 300,000 solar years.
Which is,
I mean, that completely breaks our biological reality model, doesn't it?
Yeah.
It drags us right back into pure fantasy.
It would if we multiplied. But the solution lies in the specific Sanskrit terminology used in that verse.
Okay.
The text does not record Dasharatha's age in lunar years. The words indicate a measurement in solar cycles.
Oh, which means we don't multiply to find his biological age, we divide.
Exactly. By dividing his 60,000 solar years by 5, we convert his age back into the standardized metric of the era, which gives us 12,000 lunar years.
And the texts state the average lifespan of an exceptional human during the Treta Yuga was 10,000 lunar years.
Right.
So Dasharatha, being 12,000 lunar years old, actually fits the established upper limits of his specific epoch perfectly.
It's completely consistent.
But I mean, that still leaves us with a glaring biological problem. Even if the calendar math works flawlessly, how does a physical cellular body endure for 60,000 solar years? That level of cellular replication seems physically impossible.
To explain the mechanism of such a prolonged existence, the sources delve into a profound concept from ancient Indian philosophy. The texts draw a hard line between two elements of existence.
Okay.
There's the prani, which is the biological, physical body, and the jiva, which represents the consciousness or the soul.
So it's less like running a continuous biological program and more like, I don't know, putting the hardware into a deep cryosleep where the consciousness is active but the biological battery drain is almost zero.
That captures the mechanics perfectly. Under normal conditions, the prani decays based on the standard solar cycle. But the texts claim exceptional individuals like King Dasharatha practice lifelong adherence to Deva rules.
Deva rules.
Yes, specifically following a lineage tradition known as the Shivlingi path.
But how does a lineage tradition actually alter cellular biology?
Well, the thesis argues that the Shivlingi path was a systematic practice of meditative and metabolic suspension. By adhering to these strict environmental and internal disciplines, practitioners activated a Deva element within the physical body. And this wasn't merely a state of relaxation, it was a profound suppression of the biological clock. Cellular division, heart rate, metabolic decay, all of it was slowed to a near halt, allowing the jiva to sustain the prani without aging it.
So they basically shifted their physical bodies onto a completely different metric of time.
Exactly. The texts define this alternative clock as the Deva metric. And the conversion rate is clearly stated in the sources. 1 Deva year is equal to 360 human solar years.
Okay, let's do the math on that. If Dasharatha lived for 60,000 solar years, we can divide that by 360 to find his age on this suspended biological clock.
Yes.
So 60,000 divided by 360 means he was experiencing the biological wear and tear of a 166.66-year-old.
Which is a very logical number. A lifespan of 166 years is certainly exceptional, but it is biologically feasible.
Definitely.
Especially for a civilization that actively practiced metabolic suspension. The sources insist we start viewing these descriptions as mysticism and start analyzing them as records of an advanced biological mechanism.
It's just a massive paradigm shift. I mean, to realize the seemingly mythical ages in these epics, like Ram being 25, Dasharatha ruling for 60,000 years, they aren't typos or exaggerations by ancient poets who didn't understand time.
No, not at all.
They're pieces of bread, mathematical coordinates left behind to prove to future generations that humanity once operated under a vastly different 720-day lunar solar calendar.
Right, in a solar system that was physically structured differently than it is today.
It reveals a level of astronomical sophistication that forces a complete reevaluation of ancient history. They understood the shifting orbital mechanics of their planet, calculated the ratios necessary to bridge solar and lunar cycles, and encoded that data into their most enduring cultural narratives.
To ensure it survived the slow decay of time.
Exactly. Now, as we wrap up this deep dive, there's a final, rather unsettling concept drawn from these reports that I think demands some attention.
The overarching mechanism.
Right. We've established that the Earth used to orbit at 1.57 AU, resulting in a 720-day year. But the sources refer to the mechanism causing this shift as the cosmic contraction matrix.
Yeah, the matrix describes a solar system that is slowly, inexorably shrinking. It suggests that planetary bodies are experiencing immense gravitational drag over vast epochs, losing orbital energy, and literally being pulled into tighter spirals around the sun.
And the timeline completely supports that contraction. I mean, the math shows a 720-day year in the Treta Yuga, which then tightened into a 360-day year during the subsequent Dvāra Yuga, before arriving at our current, even tighter 365.25-day orbit.
The trajectory heavily implies that this contraction hasn't stopped.
Right. So if this cosmic spiral continues, we have to ask what happens to the Earth next. Will we be pulled so close to the sun that a year eventually only lasts a few months?
It's a terrifying thought.
The environment would become a high-speed, high-heat furnace compared to the long, cold seasons of the Treta Yuga. I mean, if the Shivalingi path was required to suspend human biology during a 720-day orbit, how will human biology, our prani, have to mutate and adapt just to survive the ultimate compression of a shrinking solar system?
It frames human evolution not just as a reaction to local environments, but as a forced adaptation to the macro-mechanics of the galaxy itself.
It really does. The sky you're looking at tonight is not the sky the ancients saw. The gears are shifting. And the ancient myths we previously dismissed just might be the most accurate star charts we have of a universe that used to be. Something for you to ponder until next time.